I want to talk about the Greeks. The Greeks and the Jews. And we ever been to Greece?
Salad.
Have you ever been to Greece? Nice place, huh? It's nice place. And it's really important to understand a little bit the dynamic between the Jews and the Greeks, because it's a really incredible issue that we're going to see is really continuing today to a large degree. So let's talk about first. It's called the Greek exile. Okay? And we'll see in a few moments there were 4 major exiles. We'll see there's the Babylonian, the Persian, the Greek, and the Roman. Okay, which is what we're in right now. There's only one problem with this Greek exile as opposed to all the other exiles. Can anyone figure out what that is?
It's successful.
What?
It's successful.
Oh, a little successful too in the end. I mean, they were successful. Oh yeah, they did a lot of stuff. That's a good point. We get to that. Let's define the word exile. What does that imply?
Oh, they never
It implies you are exiled from the place where you live. Where were we living during the Greek exile?
In Israel.
In Israel. So why is it called an exile? It's not an exile.
We were exiled from our traditions.
So this is a very, very unique exile. So we have to see, this is not a normal exile, because it shouldn't be considered an exile. Exile just means you're kicked out of your land. We were in Israel the whole time, but it's called an exile. You have to understand it. Let me ask you a question. If you talk about the Babylonian, the Persian, the Greek, and the Roman, do you think the Greek exile was stronger than the other ones, or the same, weaker, stronger? What do you think? Things like a harsher exile, an easier exile? What do you think?
I think it's more insidious than it's about assimilation.
We're going to see it's a very harsh exile. And I want to claim that, in a certain sense, it's going on today. Okay, why is that? Because today we're what's called the Roman exile. But really, if you know historically, basically Rome took Greek culture and just, made it, for their times and for their situations. They just took their culture and they stole their culture. So some of the things that we were successful in Chanukah, we were successful at. Some of the things are still coming back. I don't know. It's like I love I love sports, and I even like the Maccabee games. I think they're awesome. But if you think about it, it's a little bit bizarre, because the Maccabee, right, were fighting against the Greek sports, and now they've named the Jewish sports event called the Maccabee. Is that like strange? I don't know what they're saying. And they're like, what are we doing here? It's a little bit strange right now. So what is the point? What can we take from Greek culture that's positive, and what can we not take from their culture? Okay, that's what we have to understand. So I'm going to do a very deep thing. I want to talk about the different exiles. I want to explain them a little bit. And what was unique about the Greek exile. All right, so let's start. Let's see. There we go. Here is the book of Daniel. Okay? I mentioned we had an introduction to this class last week. I mentioned when I was living in Alabama, I would be stopped by people on the street all the time to ask me about the book of Daniel. That's what happened to me in Alabama. My exterminator, he would always quote the book of Daniel for me. The guy in the supermarket, the guy who's making the shoes, everyone quotes the book of Daniel. This is like a big thing in Christian theology. Because it talks about, what's going to happen in the future. Obviously, it's one of our books, and it's a very, very deep book. And we're going to talk about the vision that Daniel has and the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. They have a slightly different vision of the future. Okay? In my vision, I saw the 4 winds of the heaven stirring up the great sea. 4 mighty beasts, each different from the other, emerged from the sea. The first was like a lion. Explains different parts of it. And behold, another beast, the second one similar to a bear. And as I beheld, there was another similar to a leopard, which had upon its back 4 wings of a bird. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. And afterwards, he has the vision of what's the vision of Mashiach coming afterwards, which is a human being. But this vision is the vision of 4 different animals, and they represent the 4 exiles. Okay? 4 different exiles. Now, they're really fascinating to try to understand why each beast is called what it's called. Okay? Why is this one a lion? Why is it a bear? Oh my! Why is this is a leopard? So we're going to focus on the leopard today. The fourth one I did not put in this slide, not intentionally, I just didn't put it in. But the fourth one, it says it's the most ferocious and scary of all of them. It said its teeth are of iron, and it just chomps and kills everything in its way. And that's talking about what? That's talking about Rome. And that talks about 10 different horns coming out of it, and the commentaries explain all the different sub-nations that will come out from Rome, because Rome is a very long exile, has a lot of branches. I mean, considered to be the major situation. Like, Greece was this, and Persia was that. Rome is now, half the world, most of it, part of the world. So that's the most ferocious one, which we can do a separate section on. That was the fourth vision that Daniel saw. Now let's see the next slide here. The next slide is, this was the vision, not of Daniel, but of the king of Babylon, of Nebuchadnezzar. He saw this vision, and he called Daniel in to explain the vision to him. Okay, like the story of Paro. One thing was that actually he had forgotten the dream himself, and he was killing everyone who couldn't interpret the dream, which was a problem because he didn't remember the dream was. And then Daniel prays, and God tells Daniel the dream, and he interprets the dream. Here's the dream of Nebuchadnezzar. That image, you see the statue we saw. It had a head of fine gold. Its breasts and its arms were of silver. Its belly and thighs were of copper or bronze. That's exactly. It's because bronze is an alloy of copper. Its legs were of iron. Its feet were partly of iron and partly of clay. Okay, this is the version of Nebuchadnezzar. Now, one quick question: what would be one of the differences you noticed between what Daniel saw and what Nebuchadnezzar saw? He sees this like this, the statue, this, and what did Daniel see?
Daniel sees animals, Nebuchadnezzar sees a man.
He sees what?
Daniel sees animals, Nebuchadnezzar sees a man.
Very good. That's right. Daniel sees them as animals, and Nebuchadnezzar sees them as a man. Okay? And the reason for that is that Daniel, on his spiritual level, saw the four kings as a prelude to the times of Mashiach, and therefore he didn't see them as a human being. He saw them as in a lower form. For Nebuchadnezzar, who was not on that level, he saw them as a human being. And then at the end of the vision, happens is a rock comes and smashes the whole statue and starts growing to a giant mountain, and that is the idea of the Mashiach coming. That was the fifth. So there's four exiles, and the fifth one is when the Jews take their place, and that is the idea of Mashiach. And that, by the way, that is why Nebuchadnezzar afterwards made them bow down to an idol, because he was nervous about the end of his dream. He wanted to stay in the gold head, because that was him. Babylon was the golden head. Okay? Persia was the silver chest and arms. Okay? The thighs that are copper or bronze, that is Greece. And then the iron. Iron is something that is considered to be, in Torah thought, like the hardest of inanimate objects. Okay? Iron is what kills and destroys, which you make your sword out of. That is Rome. Okay? Rome is the iron lower part of the body. So this is a process of the way the exiles unfold. You have gold, which represents the fantastic nation of Babylon, their power, then silver being Persia, and then we have to talk about why this is copper or bronze and why it's here in the thighs, and then the legs that crush everything, and those are made of iron. That's the power of Rome. The bottom part is fascinating here. It's partly iron, partly clay. I've had many times different explanations for that. One explanation that I think is amazing, at least the Malbim says it, is that refers to the combination at the end of time, right? Because you look at it, it's a head going to the end of time. The end of time, you have the Roman exile, but it starts to combine with another exile called the Ishmael exile, the exile of the Arabs. And the Malbim says the reason why it's iron and clay is because those don't blend together. And as the book of Yechezkel says, when the Arab nation wants to align with some of the Roman, the Western world against the Jews, they go to fight, but they realize that you're a bigger infidel than they are. So they fall apart. So the feet at the end, which is the iron of the West, that is from Rome, combined with the Arab powers to come against the Jews at the end, they don't really combine. That's what the Malbim says, and therefore that's why it's iron and clay. Okay, that makes sense? Good. But I want to focus a little bit on these different parts and really try to focus tonight on understanding Greece. Because we talk a lot about Rome, but Greece is a fascinating thing to understand. So let's try to get into what is Greece and what's going on here. Let me talk about just metals a second here. Anyone here a metal expert? I was looking all day for a metals expert. What do you call it?
Metallurgist.
Metals word?
Metallurgist.
Metallurgist. Is any metallurgist in the house? Is there a metallurgist in the house?
Alchemist is just.
No, that alchemist is like a little. That's kind of like voodoo.
Alchemy is something completely different.
Yeah, but alchemy in the old days they were trying to make gold.
Out of
Lead.
Out of lead. And a lot of people don't know this, but was Isaac Newton? He was an alchemist.
Yeah, it was a big thing.
Yes.
It didn't work too well though.
No, he didn't.
But a metallurgist is what I need because I'm trying to understand the metals. Okay, let me just give you a short version to understand a little bit from this metal business, and then we'll get to the leopard. Because I got a lot more information about leopards. Like leopards. The whole thing of leopards. Leopards. Now leopards I can pass on. Leopards I like. Let's understand a second. So you have gold and silver. Now, everything in the world represents something deeper. Okay? I want to take first silver. Silver, is everyone know how to say silver in Hebrew?
Kesef.
Kesef. Kesef, which also means money, right? Now, the root of the word, what's the root of the word? I don't know what the root of the word really means. Does it mean money? Kesef means something else. It's from the term, we're saying it in Yedid Nefesh. We say, nichsof nichsafti. We say, kesef, I yearn for something. The word kesef, okay, also means to yearn for something. It's white. It has to do with the right side of giving, of love. That's what kesef is. So when the Jews donated kesef, silver, white silver, to the which is very, it's in a white color, to the tabernacle to build it, it was giving their love. That's what it was. That's called the right hand. Now, what does gold look like? What color is gold? It's what?
Yellow.
Yellow, but it's fiery. It's called reddish. You know, pure gold is like reddish. The sages say gold is like fire. As opposed to love, it's fear and awe. And this is kind of the right hand and the left hand. Your wings, how you fly in life. On one hand, you have an emotion that you want to get closer to someone, and then you have awe. That's silver and gold. Both were used in the temple, right? Both were used to build the temple. Now, the third, when they built tabernacle. Now, the third one then, so if I have silver and I have gold, the copper was the middle line. It was the balance. And what that represents is when you have an emotion of love, an emotion of awe, then you have the middle, which is lined up with what's called either the tiferes, the harmony, the truth, or the mind, the das, the understanding. Okay, because here are kind of my right hand, my left hand, my emotions. Here is where I start now with which represents the idea of the copper, is that it's the middle line, it's considered to be dot, understanding. Okay? Now this is fascinating, second, to think about it. Because when the Jews built the tabernacle, we got 3 of the 4 are in there. It says, bring your gold, bring your awe, bring your kesef, bring your love, bring your understanding, bring your bronze or copper. But the 4th one is not there.
It's not allowed.
It's not allowed there. Oh, the 4th one is not allowed there. Iron is not allowed because the temple, the tabernacle is supposed to bring life, and iron ends life. And this is crazy because here it says in the Midrash that that's why Rome, the other 3 get in, they're brought in, but Rome is not. Rome is left out. Yeah. That may depress you, because you might say, oh, there's things I like about it. I like football, I think different things about Rome. So how will we get there? Now, it's amazing, because really, if you think about it, everything, in Judaism, I thought out, what number do you think is the most common number in Judaism?
42.
8.
18.
42, that's like a galaxy to them.
40.
7.
7's pretty common.
48, 49.
What?
299.
So they're big. So let's go through numbers. We'll do some numbers, but anyway. So you have 1, okay? That's the first day. Then you have 2, okay? You have duality. Now what you need is 3. That is called a foundation. That's why things are very often in 3. That's what we want, because here is the 2 sides. That's the duality. The 3rd is the thing that holds it all together. But very often you'll see it's 3 and it turns into 4, right? There are 3 nations of exile, and then the 4th one is the one that kind of sums it all up. That's Rome. It says you have 3 forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Then he said David comes along and he becomes the head of all of them. You have 4 letters in God's name. The first 3, and then they're repeating the 4th one, which is a repeat of the hay, that brings it in there. This can go on forever, okay? You have 4 elements, right? Earth, wind, water, and fire. I don't mean the band, but earth, wind, water, and fire. You have 4, right? You have all of, this is the way the world is structured, okay? Now I want to just show you why in a second. The reason why that is because if you start from one point, right? One point, and then it spreads out, it's going to spread out to 4 different ways. That's the 4 different winds. So when the world starts, when God creates the world, from the very beginning there's the potential of fracturing, and these 4 different nations, their possibility to rise is in the world. Okay? There's another thing that's 4 that you might have noticed. How many unkosher animals are there? A lot. How many does the Torah tell us about? How much for our vegetarians? How many non-kosher animals does the Torah discuss? 4. Right. There's about 4 animals. Why? Because there are 4 animals that have one sign and not the other sign. There are 2 signs of kosher animals. You want to know what they are? Chanukah and
Split hooves.
Split hooves. That's right. That is a sign of kosher animals because you have to. We are what you eat. You have to be careful. So split hooves means that they're non-predators. They don't pounce and kill their food. They don't kill their prey. So if you're going to eat an animal, it's got to be a docile animal that doesn't pounce and kill. So they're split-hooved animals. Second thing is they chew their cud. Now that's a little disgusting. I'm not going to describe it in great detail. But chewing the cud represents the idea of, how do I say this nicely? Being happy with a little. I mean, think about the cow. He eats grass, and he spends the rest of the day re-eating it over and over and over again. Right? We finished eating, right? I can talk about this, right? So that's a trait.
Enjoyed your dinner.
The trait of let's go to the trait of histopkus. That's a trait of being content with what you have. So eating animals can cause you to be fierce and attacking and want more and more, because that's the nature of right? Nature of people eat animals. They become like, I'm animals. They want more. So the Torah says, okay, there's a way to eat animals that will not make you act like an animal. Non-predator animals who are content with what they have, Those are the animals that we ingest. But there are 4 animals that have one sign and not the other sign. Okay? This is the shafan, the arnevet, the gamal. Now these 2 are a question of what they are exactly. Gorian, they translate them as it's not the rabbit and the hare. It's a hyrex and some Angorian sheep. That's probably the closest one. That we don't know exactly what the 2 of them are but it's called the shafan, the arnevet, which are mistranslated as the hare and the rabbit. But there's some, the hyrex and maybe the Angorian sheep. And there is the camel. Those are 3. And what's the 4th? Okay. Are they the same? Do they have the same sign of kosher? Again, these have 1 sign kosher, but not 2 signs kosher. Are they all 4 in the same category or not? No. What's the difference?
The pig stands alone.
Pig stands alone. Woo, poor guy. Pig stands alone. Yes. Why does a pig stand alone? Because the other 3, their sign of purity is inside. They chew their cud. They don't have split hooves. Right? The camel chews cud, but does not have a split hoof. Same with the other animals too. The hyrax, whatever they are exactly. The shafan and nevet. They chew their cud, but they do not have split hooves. They are internally okay, but not externally. You could bring these in to the tabernacle. You could bring it. You could bring your 3 nations. The 3 that we're talking about, the 3 that have 1 internal sign represent the first 3 exiles. Babylon, Persia, Greece. The 4th one is the exile we're in now. That's the Roman. What does that do? The Roman does is very, very dangerous. It says in Talmud, it sticks out its paw and says, look, I'm kosher. That is dangerous, because that is a phony. That is a hypocrite. That is a person who pretends to be one thing. I'm on a moral high ground. Blah, 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 blah. And then you find this stuff, you go, whoa, how could that be? That is the power of Rome. The power of Rome is they always look righteous, even if they're not. And that's why you're not able to bring them into the tabernacle. However, there's one place they are in. It says that, this is a fascinating thing, it says that the covering of the tabernacle was made from red-dyed skins. Oros elim adamim. Skins that were red-dyed. And that represented Rome, which is red, Edom. Because that's not the internal, that's the external. Okay? The point I'm making here is these 4 things, these 4 different type of metals have to be brought in. Again, let's get our flow again. Silver, it's love. Gold, I'm fire. And if I'm the 3rd one, I am copper, I am the middle, I'm the mind. So what does that make Greece? If iron is going to be Rome. Which one is Greece?
Mine.
What?
Philosophy.
It's going to be the copper. It's going to be the mind, the philosophy. Exactly.
And is it also Yisod?
What?
Yisod.
No, it's going to be Hod actually. Well, let's see in a second. Now, let's go back to let's go back to Daniel a second. So Daniel's. So according to this one, they are bronze. According to Daniel's vision, what are they? What are they?
They're leopards.
The leopard. Oh,
Wings.
right. It says leopard with wings, and how many heads did it say?
3.
4 heads.
4.
You know why 4 heads? When Alexander the Great died, they divided into 4 different. Again, there's a prophecy. When Alexander the Great died, the Greek Empire spread into 4 different heads. The 4 generals each took a thing. Their wings, because we're going to see in a second that the power of Greece is their mind. They're the middle line. They're the knowledge. They're the mind. That's who they are, and if they can fly, because most leopards don't have wings, as far as I can know. But the representation is that if you are this quality of leopard we're going to get to, And it's the mind, if you are that middle line, you can fly because you have that power. Okay? Now, what is the most incredible quality of the leopard? And people here, Keely Barnard. Anyone know Keely Barnard?
Yeah.
So I never read the book, but he has a book. I only appreciate it as leopardology, the study of the hunting of the leopard. He's got a book about how leopards hunt, and he wants to explain things about business based on this. But really understanding, looking at the leopard, I was doing some research on leopard today. It's fascinating because leopards, as it says, they don't have the speed of a cheetah, nor can they claim the brute force of a lion. Instead, they rely on their wits. Ooh. Good. They're smart, and pound for pound, the scrappiest of the big cats. No other predator confronts his victims with such rampaging fury.
Wow.
Okay, this guy was not writing this to fit into my class. This is exactly what the leopard is. The leopard is called Uz. He is called brazen. Now that means that I use my mind, I'm Greece, I use my head, and now I can figure out how to attack you, but it's more than that. See, if you're strong and you're a lion, you know what your strength is. The brazen person, what does he do? He makes himself more than he is. The leopard is not afraid to attack, even though he might not be the strongest. He uses his wits, and he feels that he can pounce. He has a certain brazenness. Much of this brazenness, how it also plays out. This is another statement about leopards. A famous lion hunter, Colonel John Patterson, records that a leopard once broke into his shed and killed his entire flock of 30 sheep and goats. It had no desire or capability of eating so many animals. The attack was an act of brazen aggression. Okay, you can write this for me, but it's brazen aggression. So the leopard is the quality of somebody going and saying, you know what? I'm more than what I am. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the quality of Greece. See, Greece, what happened was that every other nation, they felt they had certain strength, they were physically strong. That was not Greece's thing. Greece's thing is that we are brazen because we have the knowledge. We are the ones, the middle line. We understand everything, and we therefore see ourselves as this great, great entity that can just take on anything. That's our wings. That is the power of the middle line of understanding, and that is the power of the brazen namer, leopard, which is what Greece is called in the vision of Daniel. Questions, comments, though, said so far? Yeah.
It's also symbolic to me of excess.
Of success?
No, excess.
Excess.
Absolutely.
Because they're just going to...
Keep going.
Yeah, but now, it's a good point. But not excess because they're like hungry, because they want...
No.
It's a statement of, I'm in charge. I'm in charge because I got the mind. I'm the one who knows better. That's what creates the brazenness. Michael?
I feel like the Maccabees took the good quality of that.
That's exactly what we're going to see. Very good. Yeah.
So where are the Nazis?
The Nazis are, it's called Amalek. Amalek is, let me explain what the second this is. They're in the fourth one. They're the worst of the fourth one. The fourth one, which is the power of destruction, still gets into the tabernacle on its outer components, like the peel of a fruit that you can eat. It can get in some way. They call it a chazir. You know what it's called a chazir? You know what pig's called a chazir? Thomas says because it's the word chazir, pig means to return. In the end, God will even bring back, they'll return the kingship back to the Jewish people. They will return certain aspects of them. But the part that you can't, the part that they're completely bent on destruction only and eradicating God from the world and therefore Jews, that's Amalek, that's Nazis. That's where they are, yeah.
I enjoyed your comment about the metallurgy, but from a scientific point of view and history, these technological advancements are tuned to civilization. In order for civilization to win a war, they have to have weaponry,
All right.
and it was all involved with metallurgy. So every every section in history was given through the prophecy according to how civilizations rise and fall. And I think Hashem knows how civilizations rise and fall because it's all based on war. We spend a lot of money on war. And as far as the feet of clay, the Iron Age has passed. We're now in the feet of clay, which is our computers, our cars, all our weaponry, and our civilization is based on that,
Right.
which will, according to prophecy, collapse.
Good, I hear it. Okay, good, beautiful. So what do we got so far? Now, according to everything we talked about, you could all tell me what was Greece's problem with us? What was their beef with the Jews?
Smart.
They had an intellectual disagreement.
What a politically correct way to say
Took
that.
their life.
Yes, they had intellectual disagreement with us. Very well put.
If you didn't like
That was the Greeks. The Greeks were, and the Talmud says that the other brazen nation are the Jews. Okay? This is the Talmud says the other brazen nation are the Jews. And if God didn't give them the Torah, they could have destroyed the whole world. The Maharal explains their brazenness is also from the power of the mind. That's what it is. The brazenness of the Jew is also his power of his intellect. He might not be the strongest, not as strong as the lion, not as fast as the cheetah, but that's the power. It's like, how come people rule over animals? They're stronger than we are. It's only because of this. The battle of the Greeks with the Jews was only about this. And that's why the Greeks viewed the Jews as their nemesis. Because every other civilization, when the Greeks walked in, they were like, yeah, this culture is superior. We'll become Hellenists, become Greeks, we like it.
Yeah.
The Jews are the only one who were in a battle here. So the Greeks' battle was against the Torah. Okay? Against the Torah. I want to explain to you what that means. It was a question that was asked earlier. It's amazing historically when this happened. You know, and I'm just saying this now because Gail asked me this a minute ago. Historically, the period when the Greeks started is the same period as what's called the flourishing of the oral Torah. What that means is the oral Torah was always in play. But what happened was, when the Jews came back in the Second Temple time, that's when they established certain parameters, and they argued, and they spelled the Talmud out, and the Mishnahs. All those things start in the beginning then, when the Jews return from exile. Yosef ben Yoezer was one of the people, one of the great rabbis there, that was the beginning of the dialogue and disagreements. And we see the first disagreements where there was different opinions. The Jews were thinking about certain things, and it was literally paralleling what was happening in the Greek world. The last of the men of the great assembly, Shimon HaTzadik, the last of the people that came back, he ran into Alexander the Great. A famous story. It's an amazing story that you probably have heard before, but it's a great story. There was a story that the Talmud records. Alexander the Great is sweeping across Asia. He's conquering everything in his way. He is now coming to battle against Jerusalem, conquer Jerusalem. And what happened was, he is riding on his great white horse, and the head rabbi, who was the last rabbi of the men of the Great Assembly, who reestablished the land of Israel and started building the oral Torah and explaining and expounding on it, he came out dressed in his Kohanic garb. And he comes out, and Alexander's riding on his horse, and Alexander gets off the horse and bows down to the rabbi. At which point, his advisors say, "What are you doing? You can't do it. You crazy? You're bowing down to this Jew. What are you doing?" Alexander says, "You don't understand. Every night before I go into battle, I have a dream, I have a vision. And I see the spiritual force comes to me and says, you will be successful. The face in that dream is this man." Call him like Malach Eshar. And that's why, it's an amazing thing, that's why the Jews made a decree that year to name all males born in that year Alexander. That's why it's the Jewish name called Sender. That's Alexander. How in the world did Alexander become a Jewish name? Because the Jews made it that year, all babies born to celebrate the miracle that he spared Jerusalem in this moment, they should name their kids Alexander. That's why it's a Jewish name. So this is the moment now, but you got to understand this. This is a moment between where the Jews are, we have the written Torah, and we have the oral Torah too, but now we're thinking, we're extrapolating, we're discussing, and while we're doing that with our minds, the Greek mind is cooking on the other side. And therefore, their battle is l'hashkicham torasecha, to make us separate from the Torah. Get rid of it. You know? You could translate, the Greeks wanted us to translate the Torah into Greek, and the rabbis called it a fast day. They were not happy about it. Because the Greeks said, yes, for a little philosophy, a little nice idea, but don't get into this thing that you have the truth here. It's a nice idea. This was where the battle was. It was on the Torah. It was one of the places where the battle was on. And this, in the end of davening, we connect these two. At the end of davening, we say that God willing, Hashem should give us our portion in the Torah and rebuild the temple. And that was the two things they were bothered by, and we'll show why they're the same, was the Torah and the temple. Something about the temple bugged them. And this is what we've been saying this all week of Chanukah. What they do, they came into the Heichel, into the area where the menorah was, and they made it impure. We don't want this place. They made all the oil impure. Right? And what's the story of Chanukah? We found one little jug, one cute little jug, which had the high priest's seal on it, the Kohen Gadol's seal on it, which they did not make impure. Now, I know the story happened literally, I understand that, but this is pregnant with deeper meaning. You think about it. What does it represent? They were going to make this area called the Heichel, where the candle is in, and the tabernacle and the table is, this holy middle area before the Holy of Holies it is. Inside the temple, they're going to make that impure. We're going to make all the oil impure, but they find one little jug which has the high priest's seal, and that's how the Jews rebuild. What does this all mean? So I want to show you some amazing thing Maral explains in the Gematria, numerical values. Let's look over this a second. Watch this. Is this good reaching over here? So the Maral says something a little bit enigmatic. He says, let's do a little Gematria here. He says, the area in the tabernacle, in the temple, where it's called the Heichel. The Heichel, that was the area that they made impure. It's in the middle of the tabernacle. It's before the Holy of Holies, middle of the temple, before the Holy of Holies, where the candelabra is. And he says, the Maral says, the Greeks were able to control this. You know why? This is what he says. Because the numerical value of Heichel, Hey is 5, plus Yud is 10, plus 20, plus 30, how much is that? 65. It was 65. That was the numerical value of this area. And the Maral says, and Greece, which is Yavan, Yud is 10, Vav is 6, Nun is 50. How much is that? 66. What does he mean? He says, you know why they were able, thank you, do you know why they were able to get control over the Heichel, over this area? Because the numerical value of Heichel is 65, and the numerical value of Greece is 66. What does that mean? What does that mean? Try to understand this. How many branches were on the candle in the temple?
7.
7, right? Not 8. This is very important. This is not an accident. 8 days of Chanukah, but 7 candle things. See, because 7 represents the 7 days of the week. It's the natural cycle of the world. Even one commentary says it's the 7 wisdoms, the 7 secular wisdoms. The 7 number represents the idea of their 7 days of the week. It's the natural cycle. It always says, when you see 7, 7, 7, 7, it always comes up, natural cycle. The 8, we always say, is above nature. That's why we say the bris milah, the circumcision, is on which day? The 8th day. An offering can be brought after how many days? It's born on its 8th day. 8 represents above. So in the Heichal, in this area, is where they lit the 7-branched menorah, which was the idea of the human wisdom. And what they were doing was, they were battling us and saying, hey, wait a minute, we got a good mind too. The battle of the Greeks was in this area leading into the Holy of Holies, called the Heichal, which had a 7-branched menorah, representing the 7 normal cycles of human beings. Where is the 8th? Where is the higher level dimension that's not in this world at all? In the Holy of Holies. That's why the Holy of Holies says you couldn't even, we measured the ark, it should not have fit in the space of the Holy of Holies. It didn't measure it, it was too big. But it did, because there was no time and space. The Holy of Holies represented being out. It was out of this world. Says the Maharal, listen, he says like this. He says, who goes into the Holy of Holies? Only one person. Who goes into the Holy of Holies? Once a year. High priest. That sound familiar? They find the jug of the high priest. What happens, the Maharal says, is that this word is a little bit of Hebrew grammar here, but this word is called Heichal. Heichal. Says the Maharal, if you didn't have this yud, you would still pronounce this as a silent yud because the A sound is hey. So you would have the yud, even if you didn't have this written here, there's a silent yud that's here because of this lead, this validation. Says the Maharal, so the hidden yud is 10, the spiritual dimension is 10, sphere 10, that represents the Holy of Holies that gives its energy into the area of the Heichal. The Heichal is the outer space where we light the menorah, but it's connected and it gets its power from the inner space, from the Holy of Holies. And there, if you add this extra yud, you get 10 more. How much is that? 75. And that represents the name Kohen. I don't mean George Cohen, I mean Cohen. 20 plus 5 plus 50, Kohen is 75. Because the power of the Kohen, and especially the Kohen Gadol, draws its energy into the Heichal. And let me explain this one little time a second. This is what I mean here. Again, 75. So you see what happens here? This is the full spelling of this area. We add the silent yud, it's 75. That's the numerical of Kohen. That brings the holy spots of the Holy of Holies into the area where light. Let me explain what this means here a second. Again, we said Kohen is 75. 75. Now, in Judaism, when you have something, you have a, let's say any number, you multiply it times 10. There's 10 expressions of anything. So if you look at it that way, 75 is really another way of saying 7.5. Right? Because it's 7 times 10, and then a half times 10. 75 is that in between, that's 7.5. Now watch how this works. How many days are there of Chanukah? 8. And how many candles are there in the menorah?
9.
No,
In the morning in the temple. 7. So what happens is that this is the Holy of Holies. This is the middle area called the Heichal. The middle area.
So, can't you shut it off inside every time?
This is the middle area. What's happening is that the power of the temple was to draw from the Holy of Holies, from the 8, to the place of human beings' actions, to the 7. That's why it's 7.5. Called 7.5. Because why? Because the goal here is that we are doing the physical lighting. We are doing that. But we're not doing it just because we're doing it. We're doing it because we're drawing from a place that's beyond us. Let me explain what I mean by this. The thing the Greeks fought against was Torah knowledge and the temple. We both were smart. We both used our brains. But there's a fundamental difference. Their brains stop right over here. Their brains are human brains. Right? And Aristotle said, whatever I don't understand can't be true. The world works according to my mind. I'm a humanist, I'm in the center, and this is my mind, this is what I use. What the Jews were saying was, yes, we're expanding, we're talking about the Torah, we're developing, we're talking, but we are not doing this from our own heads. We are connected to the source of everything. We're drawing from the Holy of Holies. That was the difference. Their wisdom was very, very smart. It was a nice wisdom for human beings. But they were brazen because they said, we know it all. We're like a leopard. We know more than we really think we do. We, on the other hand, said, no. Our wisdom is greater because our wisdom, our human wisdom, lighting the 7 candles in that area is drawn from the source of all the wisdom. That's what a candle is. Look what a candle is. You take, you know, it's amazing. It says that, we say that oil is called like wisdom. Why? First of all, oil always separates, goes to the top. Right? And oil is what you use to light something. They made our wisdom impure. All our oil is impure. But think a minute how your candle lights on Chanukah. You take a vessel, you put the wisdom inside, you put a wick. And what does the wick do? It draws the oil to the light. That means is that we draw, we have our bodies, that's what sits inside the candle, we have our wisdom, and our wisdom is drawn up to the flame, to the source of everything. That is the battle of the Greeks against the Jews. They're brazen, we're brazen. They're brazen saying we have wisdom more than we should have, but it's limited because it's human. We have wisdom, we say, yes, we're lighting the menorah. We're doing it, but we're drawing the energy from beyond us. That's why our wisdom is endless. The temple, you think is a bad, you don't like the temple? You know why you don't like the temple? Because the temple represents the idea of a place where a human being goes in. He lights it, he does things, and he's drawing it from an endless source. The temple bugged them. They had to destroy the temple. The temple represented a place where humanity connects to the divine. A place where wisdom connects to the divine. That was the problem they had with us. That was the Greek battle. Ladies and gentlemen, that battle is not really over. You see, we won. And that's why the Hasidic Sfarim say after the story of the Maccabees, there were no great Greek philosophers anymore. Isn't that crazy? They say the great philosophers were gone after that. The great ones were before that.
What was the year it happened?
166.
How many were here?
166 BC, wasn't it?
166.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Aristotle, it was,
So Aristotle is already the teacher of Alexander. So you have Socrates and Plato before, Aristotle, and then you have Alexander, and then the Greeks, you know, then the story of Chaim is after Alexander. Sorry about that. So what happens is that the philosophers are taken away. You know why? Because, listen to this, guys. Let me ask you a question. If we talk about brazenness, what's the opposite of brazenness?
Shy.
Shy,
Docile.
Reserved.
reserved.
Netzach versus Hod.
That's a good hard. What were you going to say? Timid. So I always like this. One thing that there's something called a baisha. A baisha in the Torah means someone who has a sense of embarrassment. See, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, and here's a class of embarrassment. Embarrassment means this is who I am. I know who I am. I'm not living up to who I am. Or if this is who I am, and you're smarter than me, then I'm embarrassed before you because I know my place. The brazen one doesn't know his place. Do you see that? The brazen one is somebody who's, the leopard is this, but he thinks he's that. And he wins because he attacks like a lion. So you have the brazen one thinks they're more than they are, and the baishan, the one who's embarrassed, knows his place, and therefore he thinks his place is lower. What happened here is, look at the story. You have the Greeks who are brazen, the Jews who one of our traits is that we're baishanim. We feel a sense of embarrassment. And what do the Hashmonaim do? They say, you know what? We're going to fight a world war with 5 sons of one rabbi against the strongest power in the world. Do you see what happened here? What we did to fight this war is we took the trait of brazenness. We took it. But we took it from a different place. Now watch how amazing this is. We took it from, again, what's a brazenness? Brazenness means that this is who I am, and I put myself, I can accomplish more than I really can. The leopard can attack and accomplish more than I really can.
Chutzpah.
What's that?
Chutzpah.
Chutzpah. You think you're more than you are. We stole brazenness from the Greeks. We pulled out their brazenness. That's why their philosophers left. How do you pull it out? Because we were allowed to. Is there a way to use brazenness in the world? You bet there is. Yehuda ben Tema says, be as brazen as a leopard, right? As a vulture, as an eagle, as swift as a gazelle, and as powerful as a lion to fulfill the will of your Father in heaven. Okay? So, be brazen as a leopard. That's what they're saying to us. The rabbis say that there is a power the Greeks had that you must bring into your life. And that's the power of brazenness. Now, how can you do that? It says King David was tremendously brazen. He was tremendously humble. But he said that the kings make fun of me and said, oh, King David, you think you're a king? You sit studying Torah all day and you pray, sing songs of praise to God. He says, but when I'm going to stand up for what's right for God and for Torah, I'll be as brazen as I have to be. This trait of brazenness is a requirement in Jewish law, that you say, I'm going to accomplish and do more than I actually can. And there's only one way to do it. If you do it because you think you're so smart, then you're a Greek. If you do it because you say, I'm connected now, like the wick of the candle back to the source, nothing can stop me. That's right. I'm a Hashmonai, I'm a Maccabee. I'm going to go fight them because I'm standing for what's right. And that's our quality right now. This whole story of Chanukah was their wisdom and their human wisdom against our wisdom, which is Torah wisdom, and our connection to God, which is infinite. They wanted to cut that off. One say, you be like us. We're brazen. We took the brazenness from them. And that's the halach we have to do. We have to be brazen like a leopard to go and to do what's right, to serve Hashem. Because what that really means is that I think certain things I feel limited, I can't do. But I understand something. You're only limited if you're using your own power, right? You know, if you think you can't run because you get tired, but if you're hanging out in the back of a train, then you can go very faster than what you can go normally, because you're not relying on what your limitation as a human being is. If we have the ability to hook in to the source, you can be as brazen as you want, because you're limitless. And that is what we do. Be brazen, take that out of the mouths of the Greeks, No more philosophers, no more using you, because your mind was all you. Our minds are eternal. Our temple is eternal. It connects back to Hashem. We therefore can be more than we are by being the wick that pulls back to the flame. Questions, thoughts, comments we said so far? Or we said all together, yeah.
You were talking about hateful earlier.
Yeah.
Is it originally 65?
Yeah.
And how did that connect to the 66?
So the numerical value of Greece is 66.
Right.
The numerical value of Heichel, which was the area that they made impure, was 65. So the Maral says 66 can rule over 65 because it's a larger number. So it's a very enigmatic statement. But the number he's saying, the idea is that the Greeks, and what I'm explaining is that since the Heichel was the place where you lit the menorah, it was the 7 candles, it was your human knowledge. So on that, the Greeks had a battle. They could say, I'm smarter than you are. And that's why their numerical value is actually greater than that, because if you only have your human qualities, so another person's smarter than you are. So yeah, so they were able to beat us. But what they didn't understand was that the human part, where we lit the menorah, drew its energy from the Holy of Holies, which was infinite. And that's when we added that extra yud, the silent yud, which was now 75, was a greater number than 66. It was the number of Cohen, the Cohen. And the Cohen Gadol, that's what it means. His oil had, it's a beautiful, and you think about it, it's just awesome. The way the rabbis just weave these things. They found a little jug with the Cohen Gadol seal. And I understand it happened that way, but the deeper meaning here is that although they were able to make impure our wisdom, our oil, but the oil that was stamped with the sign of the one that goes into the Holy of Holies, that they couldn't touch. That was beyond them. So 66 is greater than 65. But once you go back to the source, you're out.
Can you kind of further clarify what you mean by the holier aspect of brazenness? Because I think about we're saying that to be brazen you have to go beyond, I'm not maybe as strong as a lion, but I'm going to act like one anyway.
Right.
Yet at the same time there's an idea that you shouldn't rely upon a miracle to save you. So if you say, well, I'm going to do it anyway because I'm connected to the source, there could be a big mistake, right?
Right. So the end of the thing, it says to fulfill the will of your Father in heaven. Meaning that, let's say there is something that you're supposed to do. And I'm not saying now you decided you're going to be go play for the New England Patriots. I don't think you decide that. Hard to do. But you're doing a mitzvah, and you're doing something that is what you are fulfilling God's will, and you say to yourself, I don't think I could do it. So it doesn't matter. You get the. It's like a person goes and says, okay, I'm so tired if I'm doing this. I'll never be able to do it. So a person has to think more of themselves than they really are, because they're doing it for the purpose of doing God's will, which means by definition they're hooking into the infinite. So your question comes in a case, let's say, in normal life things. Okay, so should I do this business venture? I'm risking everything. Now I'm brazen. No, because you may be mistaken. There's a time where you should take a chance, and you shouldn't take a chance. There's no guarantee on that, but there is a guarantee that when you are going to try to do what is right in the world, that you need to use the trait of thinking I can accomplish more than I can. Now, if you can't at the end, you can't. Let's say I'm going to go on. But if you didn't approach it with the brazenness in the beginning, you'll get nowhere. So you have to take that approach to start with. Yeah, sure.
Well, I was just thinking about the temple when the Kohen Gadol wore the breastplate, and it's the essence of truth, right? We could see what truth was, about any situation. So when the Greeks went into the Beit HaMikdash, their real essence came out. I mean, the truth came out.
That's right.
They were just impure in their very essence.
Right. And now the Kohen, by the way, wore a because there's a verse in the prophets that says that a brazen forehead, a heart with a brazen forehead. Because, and the reason why it makes perfect sense now, what we're saying, is the act of brazen is called the forehead, because that's where your mind is. It says the Kohen Gadol wore this ornament with God's name on it. And whoever would see it would feel bushy, would feel like, the person would feel, oh, I'm so good. And wouldn't have a sense of humility by seeing that. That showed they were cut off. Because it's the same thing. It's the power of the human being's mind where we become brazen when we think it's all us, and when we realize that is the connection and God's name is written on it, and we're drawing the wisdom from there, we should have humility. When you don't, then you're a Greek. Yeah, Michael, and then definitely Larry.
I was thinking so at first we're lighting a 7 candelabra, and then because of Hanukkah, it comes out into 8. So it seems like the Greeks, perhaps, maybe I'm wrong, but compared to us at the time, they maybe had more of a systematic approach to cosmology, understanding, in their understanding of nature, and they force us to draw out, what we really had, which maybe was obscure before.
I don't know. I mean, you could say something like that. What Michael is saying is that did the Greeks themselves actually by philosophy means love of wisdom. That's what it means. So did they push us to then use our? I mean, it's possible. I don't know for sure, but we know one thing. We know that the idea of a nisayon, a test in life, we said many times, the word nisayon, test, is from the word nes, which is a banner. Because when you go through the challenge, you bring out what you really are. It's like holding up a banner. Until you go through it, you don't show what you're about. So I think in this process, we were developing our wisdom too, and maybe the competition, did go and help us push it. I don't know. It could be, but either way, it was like there was the battle going on here. Yeah. All right. What?
I just want to talk about what I understand about the Greek culture as opposed to the Hebrew or Jewish culture, which I had studied when I was a student in undergrad. So it's about Hellenism, about they worship the body and beauty and the physical sports, the muscles and all. So it was really they worshipped themselves. Actually, they weren't worshiping God. It was like they made man in their image.
Right. Sure. But I mentioned this point in the last session that we did. It's like when I was in school, they said it that way also. But it's only half the picture, because you see from the Maharal today, what the body was. It wasn't just the body; it was the mind. It was the humanism. It was the body was another expression of us being human beings. They did think their greatest thing was their philosophy. But you're 100% correct. They were worshiping themselves.
What they were saying is we made God in our
right. That's right.
I understand. It's a book. We say in Israel, it's a book.
Yeah.
Their understanding of life in the world is a thing. We are suffering today with the same problem.
Yep. And that's why I say it's still a battle today. Even though right now, it's a fascinating thing. I'll just say why. I didn't go to it because it was just. But I'll show you one thing here. The word leopard is a combination of the words Leo, which refers to a lion, and pard, refers to a panther. Based on the Greek pardos and Latin pardos, it was believed that the leopard was a hybrid of the lion and the panther. Now, this was the myth that they had, that's how a leopard starts. But what's amazing here is the Talmud says that what's called mamzer, someone who's born from an illicit relationship, is called brazen. Now, besides the spiritual connotations, I can tell you just psychologically, you don't fit any place. You want to show you're bigger than you are. But the hybrid person is actually the trait the Talmud says you could find out if it's true. If he's brazen, he wants to make something more than he is. That is the mamzer. So this, according to Greek mythology, or not mythology, Greek legend, that's what a leopard is. Now look at this thing here. Now this is Ovadia Bar Tanura. This is a commentary. He says, the leopard is born from a wild boar and a lioness. For when lions come into heat, the lioness pokes her head into the forest thickets and roars to summons a mate, and the boar hears her voice and cohabitates with her. The offspring of this pair is the leopard. Now, Ovadia Bar Tanura has got a very, very bizarre scenario of how a leopard's created. Now, this is very hard to say, because most commentaries say this is not physically possible, right? It's not really possible to go and to create, animals that are closer, maybe, I even have the story of in the Bible, they're crossbreeding leopards all over the place. Leopards are known for being crossbreeded. Leopards do not originate, even if they don't, it says in Japan they breed leopards with lionesses called this lipones. This place they breed them with a puma, they call it a pumpa part or whatever. The jaguars, they breed them all over the place. And he says, but not as a limit to artificial circumstances. They have a rare spotted lion known as a marozi is thought to be made of a natural crossbreeding between the lion and the leopard. So these animals are brazen. They crossbreed. But in all of these cases, they're still in the cat family. So what does Bar Tanura mean that the leopard is a combination of the lion with the wild boar? So now we tie it all together. Remember in the beginning, the lion was Babylon. And who was the chazer? Who was the wild boar? It was Rome. Chanukah Cohen of Lublin interprets this explanation allegorically, writing the lion, which symbolizes Babylon, here represents the Talmudic knowledge of the Jewish academies in Babylon. The boar represents the wisdom of the Edomites Empire. The leopard therefore represents Greece, which caused the adoration of the wisdom of Torah with the wisdom of Greece. So, according to Chanukah Cohen, that's an allegory. That the leopard really is this combination of taking the knowledge that we had when we were in Babylon, but putting it together with what was going on in Rome right now, and therefore you see that the power of the Greek world still functions today. Right now, if you look at who is the biggest battle for Jews, okay, we were drawn into Rome, drawn into these things, but still the two cultures that represent the wisdom that's the greatest battle is still what Greece was. Greece is not that anyway anymore, but the concepts of the Greek thinking, of the humanistic view of the world, and the Jewish view of the world, that's still alive and well. That's the leopard. The leopard is bringing it right into the Rome, to the wild boar.
We are still learning. I think that they have stopped. They've accepted what they...
Yeah, the Greeks don't. There's no more Greeks. The Greeks. Yeah, if you've ever been to Greece, it's like you kind of can't imagine there were ever philosophers there because it is not a very advanced society in a lot of ways. But that was already taken over by the Western world. Rome took the ideas of Greece, and that became, like Ari was saying before. It's like I always say to people, when you had Egypt had a cult. That was its religion. Our religion, to a certain degree, is technology and science. Again, you should use it. But if we believe that is our solution to everything in that way, then we still put ourselves in the center, just like the Greeks did. Again, nothing against. Of course, we have to use science, use technology, understand. But there's a fine line where you start to believe that you're gonna solve everything, and you're gonna make it that whatever God wants, I don't care because we're gonna figure it out. That's again the power of Greece just coming out in a new